Hi everyone, welcome to the new video, and today we are going to talk about Power BI. So this is introduction to Power BI, the first installment that I'm doing on Power BI. So we are going to talk about what Power BI is, how it is useful, what are the functionalities available, and all that stuff. Okay. So as you can see, this is the landing page of Power BI. It's obviously I haven't signed in, so it's a desktop version that I'm using, and um, Power BI. So Power BI stands for business intelligence. So using this tool, you can directly import data from your different sources. It gives you functionality to, transform data, perform data operations, clean that data, do data manipulation, and then it also gives you an option to build relationship between different tables that you have imported from different sources. So you can build your data model in it itself. So it's a complete tool which gives you a complete, functionality to build a dashboard, a business intelligence report from scratch. Okay, so this is your landing page where you'll see your different kind of visualization. So today we are going to talk about just how can we import the data, and the second thing we'll talk about is how we can clean that data. So these are going to be the topics. So it is very easy. You can just go to Microsoft, or you can Microsoft website and download Power BI. And uh, so the first thing available here is file, as you can see, and what options you have. Open report. So if you have any existing dashboard or any report that you created in past, as you can see I do have, you can open it using this. Then you have options save as, and then get data is simply to import. Import is another option from which, from an existing file, you can import. Export is something that you can export contents to a new file. And then options and setting, which is one of it's a very vast options that we'll discussed in coming times. And today we are going to talk about the home page. On the home uh, ribbon, what you can see is there are options available of get data, and then you can see these are the options. So Excel, Power BI data, SQL Server, enter data, and then recent sources, as you can see. So as you can see, insurance project, billing project. So these are the recent sources using which I have, either built uh, a dashboard, or perform some kind of data manipulation on it. Okay, now if I click on get data, you can see that there are certain options listed to import data. But what makes Power BI different from other tools? What its edge over Tableau or ClickSense or Looker? So as you can see, it's showing you limited options availability here. But if you go to the next, more options, and we'll have to wait for a bit, okay, for the pop-up to appear, then you'll see that it gives a very vast variety of data import options. Voila, it's in front of you. You can see that, Excel, text, XML, JSON, folder, PDF, SharePoint, SQL Server database, and you can see different kinds of other databases available, SAP and Teradata. Then again, going to Azure, so which is most commonly used. There's something called data breaks, which you can directly import here. Then you have Power BI data sets, online services like Salesforce, right? So you have multiple options available through which you can directly get data from GitHub. So it gives you a vast number of data sources from which you can directly import data, right? So this is one of the uh, you know advantages that it provides you, and it gives you a edge over other tools. It gives you a edge. Okay, now let's talk about something called Azure Databricks. So this I want to show you as an example. Okay, so whenever you connect to a database or a data source, okay, it will give you an option uh, that either you want to import the data or you can directly query the data. So when we are talking about import and when we're talking about querying the data, so there are two different components. So when we say, see, you can just say right in front of you, there is a server host name that you can put in an HTTP path, database you can put in, it's an optional thing, but if you do, then you'll be able to import data faster. And then you have your import and direct query. So what does this mean? So this means if you import the data, if you choose the option to import, in that case, you can, what will happen from your data source, it will take a snapshot of data up to that point and it will import all that data. Okay, it will not be a live connection, right? So then the next option is direct query. In direct query, what happens is it will not import the data in Power BI environment. What it will do is it will directly query data. It will build a connection between Power BI and your data source, and you can directly query your data. Now, what are, there are certain limitations when you have a direct data line or the live data line. There are certain visualization which would not respond that properly. If I talk about in terms of the front end of the data of your dashboard or your report, there is a possibility that there might be a slight lag or a delay. So these are certain challenges. So in this case, which one to choose from? So in this case, you will be the right person to judge. So depending on what kind of data modeling or data report or a data visualization you are creating, you are the one to choose which option to select from. Okay, so I'll close this. So right, these are the options which are available. Now let me show you that if you see on the left hand side where the cursor is, this is the page where you can build in your visualization. Then once you import data, this is the place where you'll see your different data tables that you have imported, right? And then the third option, in this option, it will give you the option to build relationship between the different tables that you have imported. See, right? So these are the options which you will have to toggle between while you're working. On the right hand side, you can see different kinds of visualization options available. There is bar chart, there is line chart, there is uh, pie chart, there is donut chart, heat map, and then you have different kind of options available to work with the values, and then you have different types of option to work with the formatting, and then you have filters, so you can put in a universal filter. So right now you just have one page, let's say you have multiple page and you want to put in one filter which would work on all the pages, so you have all that functionality available on the right hand side of it. So let's get started. Let's import some data and see how it works. Okay. So simply what I'll do is I'll select text and CSV, and let's say I have this data. I'll open. So what happens is that it will itself detect what kind of delimiter are you using. So currently it's building a connection with a CSV file, a flat file. Okay. And you'll be able to see that how it is able to build connection. So as you can see, it's taking a bit longer than expected for the data to get imported. So we are awaiting. As you can see, it's processing. Yep, we have. So I've exported a sheet, a worksheet named financial, which has three different. I've exported a workbook financials and which has three different worksheets. So I'll just go to sheet number 3. So it's previewing the data. It'll show me what kind of data we have. So we have data, but it's not in a structured way, right? So instead of directly loading the data, what I'll do is I'll click on transform data, and it'll take me to the option of Power Query. So Power Query is the place where which we can transform our data. So see, it's processing, evaluating. So see, these are certain features which makes Power Query or Power BI so popular that it takes care of most of the things by itself. So as you can see, we have the Power Query page right in front of us, right? It's still loading. Okay. So meanwhile it's loading. Okay. Yeah, it's it's here. So you can see that we have new sources or recent sources. It is similar to get data, right? And then you can see that the data is not structured. There are certain columns which doesn't look null. We don't want the data in this format, obviously, right? So what we are going to do is we are going to perform some data operations, and which will help you understand how Power Query works. Okay, so in this, the first thing we have to do is we have to get rid of all these columns which are not necessary. So I don't need column from, let's say, um, column 1 till column 6. Okay, so what I can do is choose column. Simply I'll just click on this, and what I'll do is I'll select all and I'll unselect till column 6, and I'll click OK. So without writing a piece of code, it has removed those columns for me, right? Okay, guys. Now if I see that now I don't want this, I don't want this null. I don't want all these rows. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are 5 rows which I want to remove. What I'll do is there's an option called remove rows. Okay, so first of all what we can do is we can say remove blank rows. Right, so it has removed all the rows which had blank values. Now we have only one single row because it has some value in it. What I can do is top, remove top, and the number of rows that I want to remove is just 1. So I'll say 1 and I'll say OK, and you can see it has removed the rows. Now my data looks quite understandable, right? So these are, we'll talk about the Power Query in detail. I just wanted to give you an introduction to it. Now what has happened that all the steps that I have taken has been recorded, right? You can see that source, navigation, prompt header, change type, removed other column, these all have been loaded. So now this query would exist, and if the data in the source gets replaced, then also I can just refresh the query, and if it is in the similar format it will pick the data, right? So this is one of the means, uh, it is quite simple to automate stuff using Power Query, as you can see. Okay, so all we have to do is close and apply. Let's apply changes. Okay,